Hello once again, you beautiful people. Are you well? It's a sweet and easy one today as I'm finally cracking open the Kickstarter exclusive Four Kings expansion from the board game.
And engage in purely cooperation.
So this is one of the 3 Kickstarter exclusives that Steamforged released with the board game. The other 2 being the Guardian Dragon and the Old Iron King from Dark Souls 2. Like the Gaping Dragon last week, I'm yet to try these guys out as an actual boss because I want to get them painted before I use them. And yep, you get 4 of the King miniatures in this box, as the encounter is supposed to play out in the same way the actual game does, with multiple kings spawning in. So here are the 4 boss babies, and they are looking pretty cool. Pretty cool indeed. I had already primed them months ago as I meant to paint them a while back, but I just never got around to it. So for today's video, I'm not going to paint all 4 of them, as that seems kind of unnecessary as they're all complete replicas of each other. So instead I'll be painting just one and showing you the methods that I did to do it. This is the lucky little fella I'll be painting, and as you can see, they've captured the awesome design of this boss. The sharp wings and the blade look awesome. It's going to be a little tricky to make them look spectral as they do in the game, so we're going to have to find a sort of compromise. They're also pretty much a monochrome design, so I'm going to have to try and find a way to bring in a little colour to them, otherwise it's going to be a pretty plain paint job. So first up, I'm going to zenithal highlight the model, but I'm going to start off with a grey mix of the 2 ink tones before I do a pure white, just to try and add a bit of variation into the shading tone. So from a high up angle, I'm just spraying down over the model with the grey mixed ink, keeping all the undersides of the model very dark. Then over the top of that, I'm just applying some pure white ink and targeting the highest and most raised parts of the model to blend down into the grey. Before moving on, I want to just add some more pure black back into the shadows, just to up the contrast a bit. And now we have the based highlight applied to the model, we can start adding some fancy little extras to it, so as to not just have a black and white model. I thought it would be cool if we could get some blue tint onto the model just to add a bit of interest to it, and this Nighthaunt Gloom paint is a cooler, subtle tone and should hopefully be in keeping with the overall spectral aesthetic of them. I kinda just want to target it from one side of the model so it's not just turning into a full blue model, so I think the side of the model with the wings would be a good place for some blue. Do you think it would be a cool idea if I do slightly different colours for each of the 4 kings? I don't know, I'm sort of undecided, like maybe I could do one purple and one slightly red or yellow, I don't know. Let me know. A really nice thing about this model is that there's loads of little ridges and divots in the wings and the cloth of the king, so dry brushing on some of this long beard grey dry paint will bring out some cool detailed highlights, and it's a nice simple technique to do. So with this wide ass dry brush and with the paint nicely dried off of it, I can finally dust on the paint over the details of these wings, and it will bring it out nicely and separate it from the darker shades of the model. The key to dry brushing is just making sure you've removed as much excess paint from the bristles as possible, so you don't get any thick layers getting slopped on, and you can just lightly brush on the very fine layers of paint bit by bit. It's such an easy to do technique for any level of painter that can really add some nice textures to your models. So if it's feeling a bit daunting trying to tackle some models with different armors and things like that, dry brushing's a really good place to start off, just by applying different shades and different tones, and you'll start to see after a while of building up thin layers, it actually looks kind of cool. I want to add some light tones for the details on the model that aren't exactly pure white, so Wraith Bone is a nice, very light bone colour and it's just sort of slightly off-white, so it's a good middle ground. And with that, I'll just be painting the horns and the handle of the weapon. And I'm kind of sad to admit, but this is one of the bosses I struggled most with on my first playthrough of Dark Souls. It took me dozens of attempts to beat Ornstein and Smaug, and they were the hardest ones for me. But these guys, I was just getting battered time and time again by them. My build was just not suited for this boss, and it's basically just like a time boss where you just got to get aggressive with it. You got to run in, you got to kill it before like others have a chance to spawn in. But you know, first playthrough I was way too overly cautious, and by the time I sort of tried to get in and fight, it ended up costing me time and time and time again. Second playthrough though, I smashed Ornstein and Smaug first time, no deaths, and that was pretty f***ing pleasing to me, and these guys stood absolutely no chance for me. But that first playthrough, I've got to say, was it was pretty tragic. Anywho, with some Abaddon Black, I'm just going to water the black down and thin it out to a sort of glaze consistency, which I'm going to use to just sort of wash over all the dark recesses of the model to add some extra shadowing. And I'll be focusing in the center of the model so that the lighter parts are much further out on the wings, and also glazing the underside of each part. I actually found out the term for this the other week, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to blackline the join of the blade to the handle, and then just wash out that black line outwards onto the blade, so you get that kind of translucent transition between the lighter and the darker shades. And then I'm just going to finish up with some more glazing around the center of the model, and that should be the end of that bit, I think. To finish up, I'm just going to apply some lighter greys to the bony parts of the wings, and I'll be using this Administratum Grey for that. Then just finally applying some of this to these little spiky bits on each wing that you can see here. I think I just got to have another go at the black shadowing on the blade, just for some extra added oomph and kind of bring out those shadows a bit more. And with that, I think it should just about do it. So let's just twiddle this little fella around so you can get a good look at his pretty little face. Yeah, there you go. I think that blue tint has added a bit more interest to the model for sure. Let me know in the comments if you think I should do a different colour for each one, or just stick with the same colour scheme. I'm really kind of undecided on it. But, you know, whatever you decide, make sure you decide quickly, otherwise these little bastards are just going to start spawning everywhere. Then it'll just be too late for us all. As ever, my friends, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to check out my video. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you did enjoy today's episode, drop me a like, maybe subscribe too if you're feeling fancy, maybe even turn on that little bell so you get updated when I post a new video. I don't know, I ain't your boss. Do what feels right to you. But for now, that's it from me. Peace out, guys, and don't you dare go hollow.